So in this section of the course, we're going to be talking about Azure virtual machines and how to manage them, add new network interfaces, data disks, change their VM sizes, redeploy them, etc. So in this video, let's talk about data disks. Now, it might not be obvious, but when you create a virtual machine, you create a machine and you also create what's called an operating system or a temporary disk. So this virtual machine that we created a few lessons ago has an operating system disk of 128 gigabytes basically. And this is using managed storage, so we don't have to worry about allocating this, etc. But 128 gigabytes is for the operating system, and we don't really have a lot of local storage if we needed it. If you need to run workloads on your virtual machine that need to access disk, you've got a lot of different options, including the Azure Files option we talked about previously, or using blob accounts, other external storage. But if you needed storage to be attached to this machine, the option is called a data disk. And so you go into the VM under the disks section, and you're going to want to say add data disk. So right now we do not have any unused managed disks because we are using managed disk in this VM. So we're going to need to create a new managed disk. So we're going to call it SJD new managed disk. We're going to put that into the 102 resource group along with the existing virtual machine. Our location, because it's a managed disk, is not choosable. There's no availability zone concept at this time. Premium SSD. Now the question is, where do we want this managed disk to come from? It could be empty. We could back up a snapshot of a, let's say take a snapshot of a VM and have that restored. We could take a contents of a storage blob. So let's start with an empty disk, and we get to choose the size. Now remember, in storage you are charged basically for the size. So this would be 1 terabyte. So you'll see here that it's giving me, because it's a premium drive, we've got 5,000 operations per second limit, 200 megabits per second limit. I'm going to say create. All right, so we've attached, we haven't hit the save button yet, but it's basically created the managed disk, and we can say that's the disk that we want, okay, and we can say save. And so now once this is updated, our virtual machine will have the operating system disk, which is like the C drive, and it'll have a data disk that's attached. That could be like the D drive, okay? And so this virtual machine will have a place to store files that will be preserved if the virtual machine gets eliminated and gets recreated. Now the other thing that we can do with these disks is we can detach them, and then we can attach them to another virtual machine. So data disks are actually portable. Now you cannot attach a data disk to more than one machine at the same time, okay? But you can detach them and reattach them. Now I will point out that when you created this virtual machine, one of the decision points that you were going to make is how many data disks it can have. So you can see that this is a B1MS virtual machine, and there's a limit of 2 data disks. So I knew that I had a maximum of 2 data disks. If I needed more, if you need 4 or 8, then you are forced to go to a larger virtual machine. This is the same for the D series. Some series like the E series seem to contain 8, 16, 32 large numbers of options, but as you're choosing your virtual machine instance type, you are also getting a limit on the number of data disks that you can have. So that's how you add or remove a data disk from a virtual machine.